least once a game, this guy will do something that makes you just fall out of your seat. And that's when we take a look at this.
Allen Iverson is one of the most iconic players to ever play in the NBA, but he could have been greater than what his legacy portrays him as. Iverson had multiple controversies throughout his storied NBA career, but other than the practice rant, I wanted to dive into his biggest controversy of his career, which was when he got traded to the Denver Nuggets in 2006. Allen Iverson, arguably one of the greatest players in Philadelphia 76ers history, was drafted in the 1996 draft ahead of legendary players like Kobe Bryant, Steve Nash, and Ray Allen. With the 76ers, he won the MVP, was in multiple All-NBA teams, and made the finals in 2001. Also, he won 4 scoring championships in his whole 76ers career. But that all came to an end at the end of the 2006 NBA season when he was traded for Andre Miller, Joe Smith, and 2 first-round picks in the 2007 NBA draft, which also turned into Thaddeus Young and Daquan Cook. Leading up to this trade, Iverson was very frustrated with the front office, even saying the 76ers failed to honor his legacy in 2006. But why did all this frustration and bad feeling toward Iverson even start? This started at the beginning of the 2003 season, where Iverson scored his mega extension worth $76 million over 4 years, which was set to start at the beginning of the 2005 NBA season and run all the way until the end of the 08-09 season, which would keep him in a 76ers uniform until he was 34 years old. By the time the 2003 season had even rolled around, Iverson was already a superstar in the league. Arguably, even in the late 90s, he was already a superstar. But he was definitely a 76ers legend by this point, as he had already won an MVP, made the finals, and even won a couple scoring championships before the 2003 season even started. But everything shifted as Randy Ayers became the coach, and the team proceeded to go 21-31, and the coach reportedly had no chemistry with any of the team's players at all. So Chris Ford was brought in as an interim coach after the Ayers exit, and it started off a very tumultuous time for the 76ers, where Allen Iverson was suspended for missing practices and fined for missing a game where he was sick. Then he refused to play because he felt insulted that Ford wanted Iverson to come off the bench after Iverson was recovering from an injury. Iverson missed nearly half of the 2003 season, which was the first time that the 76ers missed the playoffs since 1998. But the 2004 season was much better, seeing the 76ers bounce back under new coach Jim O'Brien, where Iverson and Iguodala led the charge. In February of the 2005 season, Iverson even scored a career high in points, which was 60 against the Orlando Magic, and also recorded a career high in assists, which was 16 against Cleveland in April. Iverson won his last scoring title that year, and the Sixers made the postseason with a 43-39 record, but they lost to the eventual champions, the Detroit Pistons, in the first round. O'Brien was fired in the offseason despite his successes because of disagreements with players, and Maurice Cheeks was brought in to coach the 2005-06 season. However, it was not meant to be. During that 06 season, Iverson averaged 33 points per game, but the Sixers missed the playoffs. So during the 2006 offseason, there were reportedly trade rumors that had Iverson being dealt to either Denver, Atlanta, or Boston, but no deal happened. Iverson said he wanted to remain a Sixer for the rest of his career. But the 06-07 season began badly, which the 76ers stumbled to a 5-10 record, which is a very disappointing start. Iverson reportedly asked for a trade following the bad start, but he had denied this and said he never asked. But as a result of this report, Iverson was told that he wouldn't play another game for the Philadelphia 76ers, and during a game that was televised on ESPN against the Washington Wizards, Ed Snyder said, "We're going to trade him. At a certain point, you have to come with grips that the fact that it's not working out, he wants out, we're ready to accommodate him." On December 19, 2006, Iverson was traded to the Nuggets for Miller, Smith, and 2 picks. At the time of the trade, it seemed like a great move, pairing Iverson with the league's number 2 leading scorer in Carmelo Anthony. However, this ended up being a bad trade for the Nuggets, as they ended up making the playoffs as a 6th seed and getting bounced by the Spurs that were led by Tim Duncan. Iverson only ended up staying with the Nuggets until 2009 when he was traded to the Pistons, but he started off well with the Pistons, where he scored at least 24 points in 4 of his first 5 games. but he ended up losing his spot to Rodney Stuckey as Joe Dumars didn't envision a long-term plan with Iverson. And he ended up missing a lot of that 08-09 season with a back injury. He ended up signing a 1-year contract with the Grizzlies, but he left in November because he was coming off the bench, and the contract eventually got mutually terminated, and he ended his NBA career with the 76ers in 2010, right before the start the process era, and they were god-awful. And that's it. Just like that. One trade that nearly ruined the image of one of the greatest players to ever play during the early 2000s and one of the greatest shooting guards of the modern NBA era, and probably one of the most influential players of the NBA.